This video is a talk from the most recent Connecting Things gathering held at a really cool co-work space in Costa Mesa called Wayfare. If you ever need to rent a desk or an office for the day or long term, it's a really, really good spot to do that. Connecting Things is a monthly speaker series and gathering of creatives and makers in the OC area. If you're anywhere nearby, live close by at all, it's worth it to make it in person. Usually about a couple hundred people. It's really fun, but it's the first Wednesday of the month. This month, Jason Lankow gave an awesome talk. He's co-founder and partner at Column 5, a company built around creating visual content for brands to engage with their customers or audience. They also have a software company called Visage, which is something you should for sure check out. He talks about running a business, growing a business, taking it from an idea to having 50 employees, and it's dense with good takeaways. Without further ado, here's Jason.
Thank you. You wanted to know a little bit about me, so I told him that last summer I signed lease papers on the 17th ranked affordable compact SUV in the United States. So I'm Matt Foley. I'm a motivational speaker. Who I really am, on the business front at least, I'm really proud of four main things that I feel like we created from scratch over the years, and it was super easy. So Column 5, as he mentioned, my co-founder Josh Ritchie, who's one of the organizers of Connecting Things, and Ross Crooks, who's out here from our office in New York. We started this in 2008, and it was basically, I'd say the genesis of it was just pure desperation, at least for me. And we were going out to Goat Hill pretty much every night and just talking about like, hey, do you know people are making money on blogs? And maybe we should make money on blogs. And so we started a blog and made, about $3 a day on that. So I'll dig into a little bit of the genesis of that and how we worked through some of those early struggles. In 2011, we started using some of the profits from Column 5 to build a labs division, which eventually got enough steam to become its own company. And in the midst of a lot of that, we decided to write a book and also start teaching a course at Columbia University. So this summer will be our fourth year, but that was really, I think, pretty close to stupid to try to... We were moving offices, writing a book, starting that course, and trying to grow a company all at the same time. But we did it, at least in a little bit above mediocre fashion on the book front and so forth. I was going to say something about connecting things and then get the Peter Griffin timing here, but so I just said connecting things. So this is a little bit cut off, but I was thinking about this, just about what an initial turning point was for us, because we looked at a multi-level juice thing that we were like, maybe we can just use online marketing and build that. We explored doing a local listing site, SEO work. What else did we try? We were trying to get leads to sell to appliance. Actually, I think we found a guy to do some of the appliance jobs. We had no knowledge of that industry at all. Man, there was at least 10 other things I know at one point we were driving around West Side Costa Mesa exploring the idea of opening a bar, which we also knew nothing about, maybe like a concert venue, which we also knew nothing about. So we were just really racking our minds. And then one night I was on instant message with a lot of people who were just promoting content for their blogs. At the time, Dig was kind of the central hub. And right before this exchange, I had actually gotten this guy's instant message address from one of my other friends when we said, hey, let's just give each other our lists and just add each other's contacts and that'll double our lists. So right before this exchange with this guy, he had said, hey, who are you? Like, how did you find me? And I just said, like, oh, I found you on Dig. And he's like, okay, cool. I'm trying to promote a contest. And I was like, yeah. He's like, do you think you could get that on the front page of Dig for me? And it's like, I don't think contests really work. You need to do something different. And we had this exchange where he's like, we're engineers. We don't know anything about marketing. And so I was like, I think it was like 2 a.m. I was like, oh, well, I've got 3 other guys and we do marketing, Sure. We do marketing. Yeah, we'll do all your marketing and your social media. And he's like, okay, cool. We're getting proposals right now. And I was like, oh yeah, we'll send you a proposal. And he's like, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. And then I was like, oh shit, I need to find what a marketing proposal looks like. So I stayed up all night, just talking to people, and finally I found 2 people to send me over their marketing proposal template, and Ross and Josh and I just sat down and we're like, okay, now we need to establish pricing for our quote unquote business, right? So it's like, okay, that's 3,000, that's 3,000, that's 3,000, and that's 3,000. And so here's our $12,000 proposal. And then they said, actually, we want to just do these things and it's $6,000. And we're like, yes. No negotiation. Like, awesome. We're making $2,000 a month each. We're set for life. So that was, I think, kind of an early stage. How many of you are actually, would you consider yourselves early stage entrepreneurs? Awesome. So maybe you're familiar with winging it. So this was kind of like our, little prism thing we found. We were the elves going down in the cave, and we found this thing that we thought we could maybe sell at a garage sale. So we're like, all right, let's get a website up. We've got a business. Let's do this thing we're doing for Slosh Spot, a prestigious client in the Bay Area, with bar and nightlife listings. And we basically started, creating motivational posters for them and promoting them. But we were able to actually, drive a lot of traffic to their site because, Josh and Ross would write weird stuff and then I would promote it. And we kind of started this engine up of creating and promoting content. And I remember one day, Ross actually had found this picture somebody had made of a Lego version of Stephen Hawking. So he's like, we've got to do something with this. So we put together a little, top 10 Stephen Hawking quotes and promoted it. It took down our server on our own site, and we were addicted. We were like, that was really fun. 250,000, 300,000 people came to the site in a day or two. It was like a crack. You were like, we need to get another fix of this. We need to create something else that everyone wants to see and everyone wants to share, So as we started, getting a little bit of momentum, which, this didn't happen overnight. This was from June of 2007 through to early 2009. We managed to get like 3 clients. So this wasn't like overnight success story. It was like clawing tooth and nail. Just how do we survive? And it was interesting. I mentioned, like, I kind of joke about it being fueled by desperation, but it really was. Like, for me, I had lost a business for the most part, like in real estate, just had everything kind of go from being really good to really, really bad, and just literally figuring out, like, in 2008, like, okay, which of my creditors can I pay? Like, which of I didn't want to file bankruptcy. I didn't want to just quit, but I knew, like, I cannot, I literally, I need to pay out $12,000 a month, and I'm bringing in $3,000 a month. It's kind of like, who wants a dollar? And so, and my business partners were in very different financial situations than I was. So, there were a couple times where I had to say, like, hey guys, like, $2,000 a month each is pretty cool for our new business, but, like, I need at least 5 times this to get where I need to be. And we had some of these, like, conversations, and finally one day Josh pulled me outside and he just said, hey man, just, my daughter's here, so I'll bleep it out. But hey, man, just go sell the F out of this, and Ross and I will figure out the rest. And I was like, awesome. That sounds great. So a good lesson there, I think, for anybody who has, how many of you have business partners? So one of the things that I think was really valuable there, just as a nugget to take away from, I love that story. I think that was an important turning point for our business. But you have your areas of overlap with your business partners. But I think one of the keys to our success has sometimes just been getting out of each other's way and finding out, okay, what am I actually good at? And I don't need to be involved in every single thing. I don't need to try to be good at every single thing that my business partner is good at, and they don't need to be good at every single thing I'm good at. If you can find your complementary skill sets and get to a place of actual focus, it's going to be good for the collective whole, right? So we can do this even fireside chat style if you guys like to ask any questions. That's a great question. I think it evolved, and it certainly is messy sometimes because the business changes and our interests change and new needs pop up, so sometimes at any given time, one of us has to suck it up and dig into something that isn't super fun. I think, for example, Ross used to have to figure out how to get enough toilet paper into the office for us. And, we had our little spreadsheets that we were working to try and figure out who had paid us and who we needed to send more really big and tough emails to try to get them to pay us. So that's a really good question, though. I think it's really important to know yourself and to say, okay, this is what I want to do. Like, this is the work, the type of thing that does make me happy, and to have those open, candid conversations with your business partners, because that's where you're going to thrive. Like, if you're the thing in your business that makes you want to stay up all night trying to even if you don't know what you're doing, just like, I want to figure that out. That's, for me, I usually use that as an indicator that, like, I'm working in the right thing right now. If it's like, I need to disconnect, I need to get away from this now, then you might not be in your sweet spot. So I look at this as like, okay, we were having fun. Like, once we started, we had a little bit of a stroke of luck. One of our early clients who had introduced, infographic design combined with content marketing too, and that was something we had done. I think of as sometimes the successful ideas are just a cool recombining of things or connecting things, if you will. So we had combined this information design, bringing data and other sometimes boring information to life in graphic design with content marketing. So at the time, a lot of companies were just using their blogs to run boring announcements and their own product updates or their own kind of navel gazing. And we started saying, hey, let's turn this into a more editorial publication for you and start sharing interesting information. So we had a bit of a stroke of luck because one of our clients in the Bay Area happened to get acquired, and it was kind of a big deal in the startup world, and everyone tried to copy Mint.com at the time. They're like, let's do what they did on their website. So everybody's landing pages and home pages almost overnight started looking exactly like Mint's. It was like, let's use their SEO companies and their web design firm, and they started finding column 5. So we had, there was an ingredient there of luck and timing as well. So I think some of the problems, though, that we had is in some ways not understanding that the novelty factor, you don't know how long that's going to last. And so if you've been a part of something that is growing rapidly, you start getting into this push-pull between your sales and your ability to fulfill those sales. And it can feel like you're like starting to accelerate, and then you have to stop and make sure that the wheels aren't coming off, and then start to accelerate and then make sure the wheels aren't coming off. And I think in hindsight, I think we maybe could have just said, screw it, just floor it. Like, let the wheels come off, and we'll like, maybe we'll find some more wheels. I don't know. But, you've got to, when you find that thing, like if you find yourself so lucky to actually be doing something that there's a lot of demand for, like, just go for it. Like, just try to don't stop and wait and make sure it's clean and perfect. Just keep going. And we did a lot of that. And that brings its own problems, but I mean, we had those stretches of time where it was like, go for it. Let's take on everything. Let's book everything. And then you deal with the quality suffering. So there's a balance, right? But maybe another way of saying that is to say, pick a side of the fence you want to be on and run with it, because there is always going to be a trade-off there of quality versus quantity, especially in creative services and design. I wanted to answer this question too of what was the role of inventing. So you have your one thing potentially initially that there's a market for and people want to buy, but there's other things that people start coming to you and asking you, like, do you guys do this? Do you do this? And it creates this internal tension of like, oh, am I a jack of all trades, or are we going to be the best of the best of the best at this one very specific thing and kind of have all our eggs in that one basket? And there's not an easy answer to that question either. But generally, I think that you need to continue to reinvent yourself. And so we started just inventing products. We started inventing things that we could offer so that if this infographic craze died down, which in many ways it has, at least, it's not a hot item like it was. It's what's next. So you have to start saying, like, what's that next thing going to be, and start saying yes. You have to start saying, like, somebody says, can you guys shoot a live action video? Yeah, we can do that. And it's kind of going back to the first time we said, like, yeah, we can do all of your marketing. We can do all of your social media. Sometimes it's just like, just say yes and try it. And if you hate it and your work sucks, then maybe you don't do it again. But I think that, like, saying yes without overthinking it can sometimes get you into, it opens a new door for you. So in the midst of this, turns out you need a lot of people to execute a lot more work. And it's a funny thing about people, they want to grow. So, hey, and they like health benefits and stuff like that. So we generally agreed that those were all good things to offer to our employees. And this became, though, what we refer to sometimes as the whitewater stage. You start, you're growing, and then it's okay, and everyone talks about it. It's at 40, 50 person mark. It's hard to really, really power through and grow. And so one of the, I think, business challenges that we've, in some ways, been working through for 2 years right now is when you have this core group of good people and you need to work on also improving the way that relatively large group of people is working together, you also are in some ways maintaining the current size of the business without growing it. And that can become problematic because if your expenses go up as people, you need to pay more to retain people. You have to like get out of that comfort zone and say, we need to grow again. And so that's, I think, where we're at right now, is saying, like, okay, we've got we've got a rock solid foundation. We've been shoring up this foundation. Like, let's grow. Let's really get out there. But that's easier said than done, because it's not like over the last 2 years we didn't set any goals for growth. We didn't try to grow, but the demands of shoring up the internal processes and the team and just trying to keep like everything improving internally, it requires a lot of focus too, right? But I think we've powered through this in a lot of ways. Like, and this goes back to focus. If you can have, as a founder, or if you have multiple founders, if you can say, this founder is going to focus on the new thing or the new growth opportunity, you can potentially find your growth in an unexpected way. So in the process of this, even though the core business of Column 5, we have been growing, but we also had this product, Visage, and we were putting money into it and growing it, and we decided to pop it out as a separate company last year and go raise capital for it separately. So in the midst of this, and it was messy, like this whole thing was messy. And in the midst of it, we had to make you have these windows of time where it's like, we've got to make a snap decision. And for us, this decision was, hey, if Visage is going to survive, if Visage is even going to have a chance at working, 3 of our senior leaders from Column 5 are going to need to go over to this new company. And Josh is going to stay on at Column 5. And this was a really cool experience for me, because it was like, all right, it was like jumping off a cliff, but like also like trusting that you're not going to die. Hoping, no. So this was really cool because it required such immediate, we're making this choice, we're going for it, and we know there's tremendous risk, but ultimately for me, the factor was I don't want to be sitting here in a year or 2 years wishing that I would have taken that risk and seeing somebody else build what we were trying to build with the product and going like, being the bitter guy in the corner going like, oh yeah, well, we had that idea 5 years ago, but we didn't execute on it. So that was kind of a really cool experience though too, just learning to trust my partners, trust the team. And what we saw that I think was awesome was from all areas of the Column 5 team, we saw people stepping up. So while we thought like, oh, we're crucial for this business, it's kind of humbling when it's like going from being fully immersed in the business to fully focusing on this new company. It's like, oh, that didn't fall apart. It's kind of like, oh, maybe I wasn't super crucial there. But it says more about the team, right? And so in taking that risk, it created opportunities for other leaders to step up, which was super cool because, as we started growing, we looked at what's interesting to us, we started looking at like, wow, it's really fun to help develop other people into leaders and to give other people opportunities to step up into leadership. It's not all about what can I do, what are my skills. It's about finding people who can do this better than us and in every area of the business. So Back to the Future 2 fans in here? So this is actually the year it was set in, if you don't know that. So hoverboards should be happening soon. But along the way here, there was kind of this existential crisis of sorts. I went in 2013, kind of sitting in a meeting with my 2 co-founders, and I was like, guys, I can't think about this right now. Like, my mom's in the hospital. I need to go. So, jumped in the car with my girlfriend Katie, drove to Colorado, and decided to spend the last 3 months of my mom's life out in Colorado. And I started looking at what we were building, and I was like, why? Like, why are we doing this? And the cool thing that happened in this experience of being out in Colorado with my mom and just taking care of her and being with my family, for maybe the first time in a while, I'd had this feeling of like, I know I'm exactly where I need to be right now, and I'm doing exactly what I should be doing. I know I shouldn't be heads down on work. Like, my mom is what's most important right now. This is what I need to be doing. And it was a cool inquiry for me, because I started saying, like, why, like, what would it be like to wake up every day feeling that? Like, I know I'm doing exactly what I need to be doing today. And I came back and sat down with Josh and Ross, and I was super nervous about bringing up this question, because I thought maybe we'd answered it before. And we have this Trello board where we kind of look at all of our to-do items, and I had this item on there to talk to them about, like, why we're building the company. And I remember thinking, like, maybe I shouldn't bring this up. Like, I'm the CEO. From extensive Google searching, I've learned that part of a CEO's job duties or responsibilities are to probably have some influence or understanding of why the company exists in the first place. So I was like, man, I'm asking this question, and it's kind of just saying, like, I'm not doing my job. So I said, hey guys, we might have answered this over the course of like 2 days straight of talking in Dana Point at some point, but have we ever articulated why our company exists and what we're actually doing here? Because I hear, if you go talk to this designer, it's like, well, that's not how real design studios do things. If you talk to this senior producer, it's like, well, this is how this big agency does things. And I was like, I didn't sign up. I don't know that. And you hear that, it's like, oh, well, yeah, we should do it like the real design studios do it. And then it's like, oh, well, we should do it like the big agencies do it. And it's like, wait, which of these things are we trying to actually become? And that was a really cool process for us, because we actually set out to intentionally define, like, why are we building this company in the first place? And I think it's really cool if a lot of people talk about purpose, and it's not a novel idea, to set a company purpose. But I think sometimes it's done poorly, and sometimes it's not necessarily super authentic. It's not my place to judge anybody else's, statement on their website and how authentic it is. But I think probably the thing that doesn't happen enough is digging deeper into it and taking the process I thought of as, pretend there's an annoying kid sitting there in the room just saying, why? If you say, like, we're building a dynamic mobile advertising solution that is integrated, and like, why do you care about that? Like, why does that matter? And then go, and if you can't answer that, then maybe do something else. But often it's like, why? Why does that matter? And so as we did this, we peeled it back and we started looking at our common interests, like, and answering questions like, if you did make a lot of money, what would you do? If you did have a lot of time, what would you do? And thinking about how that could guide our actions and our work now instead of later. Okay, after 10 years from now, we sell this company for a lot of money, then we'll do all these things that we've always wanted to do. How do we bring that thing, that vision or that ideal state we want to work towards, into our current work and have it guide more of our current action? So we came to, over the course of, I guess, a few weeks, we came to a place where we set for column 5 the purpose of we exist to create a world where anyone can live a healthy and fulfilled life. And this is really powerful to us. And that statement might not be powerful within another organization, but it's powerful for us because we know the depths of meaning in that statement. We know that it, in some ways, perfectly combined the 3 founders' interests and passions, and everything else that column 5 does follows from that now and aligns back to that. So whether it means it's challenging, right? If you put it out there and you're transparent and you're saying this is what we're all about, then we have a team that holds our feet to the fire on that now, and they've taken ownership of it too. And it's a super cool thing, and it can be there's accountability there. It's, hey, we should not be working with Booz Allen Hamilton. They are bad. It's like, if we're like, but we really need that money, so we're going to do that work anyways, then the whole thing goes to shit, because it's like, okay, you don't mean that statement. We can't trust you for anything. So we get our feet held to the fire on this all the time now, and it's really cool. Like, hey, this company or this client is not aligned with our values, and so there's a trade-off there. So this purpose starts to become a real source of power. You can rip phone books now, and it's really cool because the main thing I love about this is it's kind of like a well you can go back to. So when things get murky, it's like, okay, let's go back to that. We had this agency conglomerate poking around under the hood last year, and it was like, oh yeah, we want to merge you guys with these 2 agencies, and we'll build it into this bigger agency and then sell it to WPP in 3 years. And in one walk around the block, we were like, is there purpose alignment here? Is there value alignment in this? Like, no. Okay, let's not do it. Okay. Decision making starts becoming much more efficient because you just go, oh, does that match up with why we're doing this? No? Okay, let's not do it. Does it match up? Yes. Okay, let's do it. So on a spiritual level, kind of going back to this time in Colorado with my mom, and it's kind of a raw topic, but in some ways I had 3 months of, okay, how am I going to prepare for life without my mom? Like, how am I? It was clear, she's not recovering. This isn't, the miracle isn't happening. What are we going to do? And I started thinking of this as like connecting to the source. It's like a lot of times we look for our power from, did I get a sale today? Did my girlfriend say, I love you enough via text message? Did my business partner use enough emojis in that congratulatory statement? It could be any number of things that you give your power to externally, but that puts you in a place of taking. Like, oh, I need to get something from you. I need to get something from you. And after grabbing enough of those little fragments, then you're okay for the day, and then you go to sleep and wake up, do it again. So I started thinking of this as connecting to the source. And, for me, that's been, a journey of, growing up at evangelical church and then turning away from it. And then now I don't know, I guess I kind of go to space church or something now. But it's still, for me, though, there's some things that my parents gave to me in those days of like, write down your scriptures, write down your scriptures. One of the things that has stayed with me is just that waiting on the Holy Spirit. So in a time of crisis, just to say, okay, I'm going to go get a bottle of wine and take a bath and then just wait for the Holy Spirit / wine to like get me to the other side of this. It's kind of a formula, that I have figured out. I don't do it every day. It's maybe like a biannual thing. But if you connect there, if you can find that way of saying and it takes quiet, it takes solitude to get there, and it takes just waiting, but it shows up. And in those times, for me, I've felt like, okay, now I'm wired in. Now I have what I need. I'm going into my work setting, my personal relationships. I don't need to get. I can give freely now. Like I have what I need and more, and I can give freely to people. And that's, for me, become a real source of power in my work. And I don't do it perfectly by any stretch, but I know from experiencing that, I know also when I'm not that. And I know when I'm sucking, and I know when I'm being a jerk. And I know in those times to say like, okay, I need to dig deep here. I need to stop being a jerk. I need to figure out how to, get filled up again. So I'm in the takeaways section here, by the way. So log these ones. So define your purpose is such a cliched statement in so many ways, just like love or peace can be cliched. But I think sometimes we think of this as like discovering, or like, I'm just hoping one day I'll find it. Like it's going to show up Amazon fresh on the doorstep. Purpose. I think it's an intentional process. You have to really care about it, and you have to really do the work. And that, again, that little kid helping you peel back the layers of the onion. Like, why does this matter? Why does this matter? And you're making choices as much as you're discovering some, preordained thing for your life. You're saying like, I'm going to choose this thing. Like, this is the thing I'm choosing to care about as well. So it's, you're not like a bystander in the process. It's your active role in defining it that makes it also super potent. So this is in those moments where, last year I had this experience of, okay, I jumped off the cliff. I'm moving over to Visage full time. And the first order of business was, we need to raise money for this business or we're not going to succeed. And I've never raised money before. The only success or the only attempts we'd made were like failed $10,000 Kickstarter type projects and failed $30,000 Kickstarter projects. And I was like, we aren't good at fundraising. I don't know why, but we have not figured out how to get people to believe in things we're trying to help somebody do, like build a school or shoot a documentary. Like, why do we suck at this? And I just knew I had to do it. And so I was flying back and forth to the Bay Area, back and forth, and just getting no. And something cool happened in that process, because that was my worst nightmare. Like it was a horrifying prospect to think, okay, I'm going to get an introduction from an entrepreneur I respect to a venture capitalist who I'm scared of, and then they're going to say no to me. That sounds awful. And it is, but it doesn't kill you. You don't, like, I very few of those times that I heard no, I died. Like it. So there was one time where I got out of a meeting with a guy at his gigantic, like 4-story house he was renovating in the middle of San Francisco. And it was clear to me as I walked out of his massive entryway. I was like, he's not in. Like, he's not in. And then as I'm walking to the car to get into a meeting to drive to another person, I look at my phone, and a guy who probably wasn't in confirmed that he wasn't in. And I was just like, mother, got in the car, drove really fast to the next meeting, and had some really good bass in the Ford Explorer rental that I was just like driving like a maniac. And something it was like a process of alchemy in me. I said, like, I'm going to show them. Like, I'm going to show these guys. And it turned this no and this like rejection that I've always feared more than anything into like a source of power. Like, I just was like, I'm going to get really good at turning these no's and turning this rejection into something good. I'm going to just chemically change it into something good. And so I had this vision in my head of like, I'm in a tunnel and it sucks and it's cold and dark, but like, I'm going to just keep going. I'm going to get through this tunnel because I've told this team who's back at the office, and they don't have the luxury of focusing on just one thing like I do. They're running the rest of the business, and I've said, I'm going to go get money, and I'm not coming back to the cave without like a woolly mammoth for us to eat. So in that case, it made sense. The path was clear, like, keep forging ahead. Sometimes though, you're doing something and you're banging your head against the wall, and you need to go around it and go a different direction. The other takeaway, there's no way I would have figured this out without talking to every single person that I knew and respected and asking them what they did, asking them what they would do. And a cool thing starts happening when you get, it's like the wise man seeks the counsel of many, right? If you get enough advice, you start learning which stuff is totally subjective and which stuff there is actually a best practice or truth on. So when 50 people look at the investor deck and you hear that slide should be first, actually that slide should be last, then you start going like, okay, the order of my slides doesn't matter. When somebody says, you need to know your market size, you need to know your market size, you need to know your market size, you need to have market focus, you need to have market focus, you start going, okay, that's the weak spot. That's where I need to focus. So you get that counsel from a lot of people, you start bucketing stuff into the right categories. So similar in spirit is being resourceful. If you don't know how to do something, like I said, if you want to do it, you stay up all night. You read the perspectives of people who went before you and did it, and just consume knowledge. Like, if I could do the, Neo downloading Kung Fu into my brain, I would do it. But you got to just take the time and dig in and just be a resourceful person. If you're stuck, like, consume the stories of people who are also stuck and figure out how to get unstuck. And last, which is our up and coming slogan of sorts informally at Visage, is go forth and create. So we went through a similar process of defining the purpose for Visage, and Visage is a very different company than Column 5. Column 5 has, in some ways, a really cool opportunity in the sense that we could literally create anything on that side of the house. If somebody wants to do, yarn art for the Crochet Kids annual report, game on, do it. We can't do yarn art in our software product in addition to 39 other artistic techniques, or we're going to run out of money and die. So it's a very different company, and but similarly, we said we need to know why we're building this, because the danger in the startup world is, let's build $1 billion company and get maybe up into the top 10 in affordable compact SUVs instead of number 17. There's like a material focus there that is really dangerous. So Ross has shared with me in the past a quote like the opposite of war isn't peace, it's creation. And I thought that was so rad. Like, why are we here? We're here to create. And so we've articulated this purpose of Visage as fueling creation. So it works on a lot of different levels for us. It's what are people doing in the product they're creating? What does a success of this company do? It gives us fuel to create other things. That's all I would care about. Like, if this thing works, it's not time to check out. It's cool. Everyone on our team has reputation now to go build their own thing, to create their own thing. So it's for us really powerful to say, we want to build this ecosystem, and it's really rad to see even just the way this community is coming together. It's just, this is where we live. This is what I want to see. I don't want to go to other places when I want to experience like creativity and energy and people building. Like, this is where I'm living. I want to see it here. I want to foster more of it.
Thanks, Jason. We're going to do a Q&A right now. If you have any questions for him, you can feel free to put him on the spot. I think he'll do whatever. He's a good dancer. If you guys have any questions, maybe just raise your hand and just throw them at him for now.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, so his question was, looking back, it's easy to see the things that made sense to plow through, but at the time, how clear was that, and what led me to keep going? And for me in that case, I saw kind of a fork in the road. I saw I can go back into this other career that I wasn't happy in, and potentially, actually, strangely enough, at the time that Column 5 started working, the real estate market also started rebounding. So I actually had a kind of a fork in the road there where I said, oh, I could go, like, my business is starting to recover on this side. I could go back over there. And really, it took one day of working with two friends in a dumpy little office to say, like, when we took a space on Old Newport, like $850 a month. We just said, let's see what we can do if we're all three in the same place. And, we were painting. I think I almost hit Josh with a hammer because he was critiquing my painting techniques. Not literally, but I wanted to. But there was that experience of, okay, we're in the same place, and I don't want to go back to the fluorescent lighting cubicle that I was in. So I'm going to just go all in on making this work and work with my friends. So it was pretty simple at the time. Joel. Yeah, that's a good. So the question was, when do you make the choice for your own business to say, okay, we're going to bring in other people to help us with this thing? And like anything, there's a risk there. The risk is pretty simple. It's maybe I hire this person and they're not good at their job, or maybe I hire this person and turns out I can't afford to pay this person. But what we saw was we have a lot of menial things we're doing, that are keeping us from growing our business, and we want to grow our business. Not everyone wants to grow bigger. Some people are cool with a set pace and working solo, and that's totally cool. If you want to grow your business, you're going to have to periodically and almost on a weekly basis take some sort of risk. And you say, and for us that was, I ran into a buddy in a parking lot at Mother's Market, and he was back in town to live, and I said, we're kind of losing our minds. I think we might need an employee. And are you looking for work? And he just happened to be looking for work. And so we made a bet essentially that bringing this person in, having him initially take menial things off of our plate would allow us then to focus on new things or executing other work more regularly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really personal. And it's funny, as I was even talking about that, I realized I mentioned there's a trade-off, because we did do that until we didn't do it. And the reason we hit the brakes was, we felt like we weren't delivering the level of quality that we wanted to deliver. We were doing a tremendous volume of work. And we did make, it's hard to say what was the right move or the wrong move, because it's easy to go, we actually made a conscious decision at one point. We said, do we double what we're currently doing, or do we make sure that what the volume we're currently doing is work we're really proud of and higher quality? So I don't think that was a stupid decision. But I think maybe we made it too black and white. Maybe there was hey, let's commit to quality on the production side, but we can't slow down on the business development side, because this opportunity may not be around forever, and we want to capitalize on it as much as possible so that we can fund more of those next things that we do. So it's a deeply personal choice that you'll make, but and if you're happy with a certain level of business and you feel like we can maintain this, that's cool, Yeah. Yeah, I think it was pretty smooth. We also had kind of a cool trade we did with a guy who did what's called a DNA workshop, and so we said, we'll do a graphic for you at a discount, and you do this thing for us at a discount. And so we kind of had, I think having that external facilitator in the process is really helpful, because they can maybe critique your thinking and your partner's thinking in a way that might not always go super smoothly. If you were especially when you're talking about something as touchy as what do you really care about? If you turn to your business partner and go what, go deeper than that, they're going to get a little bit defensive maybe. So I know I would, but I think generally it went pretty smooth. Sometimes though, there is a challenge of saying because you have so many things you have to do. So it's hard to say let's carve out, and you can't carve out all day long, focus on the being. but you do need to get it. You do need to get it sorted and get it straight, or the stuff you're doing isn't going to be rooted in anything.